This is Immortals of Aveum. We're here on the Nintendo Switch. I mean the Xbox Series S. Be sure to like the video. Subscribing is great as well. And I will mention that this is provided by the EA Content Creators Network. So that's how I'm checking this one out. So, I don't think I've seen such a murky, like muddled soup kind of game before on the Xbox Series S, but woo! This is blurry. My god. Wow. So, we checked this out on the Series X, and I was hearing things about kind of how this one looks on the Series S, and I was like, I gotta, take a look at this. I'm so genuinely curious. And yeah, the results are just absolutely splendid and miraculous. I've never seen a game so low res. So for this one, again, if you, I don't know, maybe you checked out the Series X one, maybe you didn't. This one is a Unreal Engine 5 game, so that's the latest Unreal technology. And if this is how games are going to look on the Series S, we are in for a nightmare over the course of this generation, because yeah. Okay, so let's dive in here. Like, obviously, this is like super dynamic resolution scaling. So they're using FSR, which is like AMD Super Fidelity, which is a resolution scaling technology where it is trying to kind of really upscale the visual fidelity of the game to the best of its ability. And Unreal Engine 5 is a very demanding engine. It definitely is. I mean, we're seeing that. I didn't think it would be this demanding, considering, like, literally it's just fuzzy and blurry to the max. So for FSR, you can, like, really tell when it's being used aggressively, because there's, like, this intense, like, level of, like, fuzz, particularly in things like the water, but I've never seen it so heavily present within, like, geometry and stuff. Like, it really is quite miraculous. Like I said, I have never seen anything quite like this before. So this is, like, to me, this is completely uncharted territory. Like, this is really genuinely a fascinating kind of, like, look at the use of the technology. So it is 60 FPS, targeting 60 FPS, of course. I mean, there's still, like, there's drops and everything like that, but it is, it is targeting that. I'm kind of looking for these gemstones, if you're wondering why I'm just running around in circles. Who cares? We don't need this. So, like, from a resolution standpoint, it is scaling like quite a bit. I believe that the threshold for this one is probably like 1080p, maybe in, like, maybe there is a cap that's, like, theoretically like 1440p, but, like, for all intensive purposes, I don't think this game actually at any point would go above like 1080p from what I'm seeing. And it's more like literally, I think, like 480p most of the time is what it looks like, or even kind of worse. Like, this literally looks like a original Xbox game in terms of, like, the resolution output. There's, like, tons of, like, visual pop-in with, like, objects and geometry within the world too. Like, I guess it's amazing this even runs on the Series S at all, if the game is truly this demanding. Then I don't know how this is coming across, how you're watching it on, like, say YouTube and whatnot, from, like, an aesthetic standpoint. But, like, yeah, it really, like, I'm not even, it's a very, very serious thing. Obviously I'm doing this in a jokey way, but, like, this is, wow. I mean, it plays, and you know what? The fact that it hits 60 FPS at all, I think it's a good thing, Like, we've got a lot of developers are not, targeting 60 FPS in the Series S, and the Series S can clearly do 60 FPS for games. I mean, it's a single-player game, right? So, with the modern technology and stuff, I think it should easily be able to do that. But I am, like, literally sitting here being legitimately worried about the future of, like, kind of Series S games, because this is really, like, I don't know. Like, I'm used to, like, the Series S being, like, a bit of an oddball. Like, you're not, like, even this looks, like, I mean, you literally, so when you watch, like, a pre-rendered cutscene in old games, you see, like, kind of squares as if you're watching, like, a really low bitrate video. And I don't know how much, again, that this is showing up on YouTube, but I'm literally seeing, like, blocky artifacting in the backdrop of this world. And there's nothing, like, there's nothing going on here. It's an empty, like, you know what I mean? It's like an ethereal plane. And that is, wow. Because, you know, again, I've checked out quite a number of Series S stuff, and sometimes the console punches above its weight. But if this is what the future of the console is going to be, is like really dodgy, oh my god, that water, FSR infused kind of things, is just like, this is going to be a nightmare. Yeah, this is going to be a literal nightmare to play. Because it's like, I can handle, you know, lower resolution stuff to a degree, and it's neat to check out and take a look at, but wow, this is unreal. Engine 5. I'm sorry, like, I don't, like, I really, you know, I don't enjoy necessarily knocking the Series S. Like, I think it's a pretty competent console, but I am genuinely terrified now for the future of the thing, because I don't know how much people are gonna appreciate having, like, a quote-unquote current-gen console that looks like this. Like, games are supposed to look better as the generation goes on, you know, as the technology is being pushed. But, like, yeah, this looks like it's absolutely just buckling under the weight of the game. Like, this, like, the Series X was, like, you know, kind of buckling, showing this off, to be honest. And, like, here on the Series S, it's like, this thing is probably, like, literally, I'm not, like, looking at the fans right now, but my Series S is probably on fire. Trying to run this. Like, it literally, it's just, like, muddy, pixelated, artifacted soup. It looks terrible. It really genuinely does. Like, it's impressive to a degree, because obviously this is too demanding for, like, the Series S, as we're clearly seeing here, but, like, wow, this is, like, unreal. I personally don't think I would be able to stomach playing this game with it looking like this. I don't know. We should talk about the game, though, because I've sat here just kind of going over the visuals. It is a first-person shooter, magic-infused game where you're blasting off a variety of interesting spells and abilities. The game is decently long. It took me about 10 hours. I think for most people it'll probably take more. There's, like, side activities you can do and puzzles and things. It's like a semi-open world. But it kind of exists more as a semi-open world just to kind of, like, pad the gameplay time. Like, there's a lot of really repetitive scenes where you're doing, like, the same sort of thing, fighting the same sort of enemies over and over again, going down the same paths. Like, they reuse the beginning area of the game 3 times within the story, like, literally the same geometry. A good chunk of the game takes place in that ethereal plane I was showing off, so it's like, that's not even level content. It's just blocks in an empty space. And it's like, it's okay. Like, that's the biggest thing for this game, is it's genuinely okay from a standpoint of, like, story and gameplay and mechanics and everything like that. I'd say for the Series S, the visuals take it down a little bit of a notch, but, like, it's an okay game. You know, like, it's alright. It's got some neat combat to it in terms of, like, your shooting and everything. Yeah, I kind of like it. It's a world where I'm sort of like, I like the way you battle and you fight. And I'd actually like to see this world explored further. I think there's actually potential for this world to get explored further. But, like, it definitely, we're kind of labeling it nowadays, it goes to the Forspoken school of dialogue sometimes. And it's like, I don't hate the dialogue. Like, sometimes it's kind of funny, but, like, it's really kind of annoying and sort of, like, quippy at times too, and it's just kind of like, it really does feel a little excessive to some degree, narrative-wise. So you play as this character, Jack, and you are, for whatever reason, an orphan in some kind of floating... Oh, I thought this was like a teleportation portal that was going to take me somewhere else. I want to, like, sorry, I'm trying to show off another area of the game, so I'm trying to find, like, a particular teleportation portal that will take me to another section of the world. But yeah, you play as this character, and, like, everything is sand, and, you know, you're in this, like, shanty town built on the side of a long bridge, and none of that really gets explained or anything like that. And then all of a sudden you're, like, a warrior, and it's, like, the premise, the initial context is kind of cool, and then there's, like, all this hidden stuff going on, but it's, like, it's very predictable, like, all the big story bits where it's, like, big reveal and twist, and I'm like, yeah, no, I predicted that, like, literally 2 seconds in. Is this a teleportation portal, or is this gonna, like, literally send me to, like, another kind of world? It doesn't really tell me. Please be. Okay, there we go. That's literally what I was looking for. So, yeah, that's the big thing, is, like, you kind of get thrust into the action. It's an okay story, like, it's lengthy. You know, for a shooter game, you know, having a story that long is actually pretty impressive and extensive. So I think they do a really good job for story stuff, gameplay-wise. So it's okay. Like, the characters are alright. I mean, I wasn't, like, huge into some of the characters, but, like, you know, they're fun. They have their thing. They have their crazy missions they're going on, and, you know, they're trying to save the realm from their perspective, and there's a decent selection of enemies. It's just kind of like, sometimes it feels like the enemies are, like, really just the same enemy, but slightly spongier in some spots, and, you know, there's, like, every single-player game in the modern era, you know, it's got, like, you can upgrade, like, your gear, you can improve it and stuff like that, and, you know, you get some different things and abilities, and then you've got, like, a talent skill tree for the different categories, like blue, red, green magic, and it's, like, how you attack enemies is kind of based on, like, a color coding to a degree. Like, they might have, like, a red shield, and you've got to use, like, your kind of red magic ability to, like, take that out, and, you know, that's kind of, like, it looks cool to combat. I mean, if you could see it on the Series S, it's a little harder to, like, see what everything looks like from an aesthetic standpoint. Oh, and the parkour system in this is just, it's so, like, extreme hit or miss. It's just not very good. Oh, there's that grass popping. Love it. You do get some other cool abilities, though. Like, this is kind of, like, there's puzzles, so, like, you can use this laser thing to kind of, like, move these eye puzzles, but it can also, like, damage shields, and then there's, like, this thing that, like, slows stuff, and, you know, obviously the whip, if you want to whip things around. But it's like they basically watched other games that have whips, and then they, like, we'll just throw this in here, and it's just, like, a lot of the time the parkouring is just absolutely emotionally maddening. Like, just crazily annoying, which is kind of funny. But yeah, I like, yeah, I want to like this one. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I don't, like, I hope I'm not coming across as, like, totally negative towards this. Aside from, like, the visuals, like, on the Series S, this is kind of like, ooh, nightmare. But, you know, 60 FPS, right? Which is what we ask for sure. Oh, that was bad. But, like, the game is incredibly okay. You know, that's the biggest thing. Like, it's fine. It's, you know, it's not, like, it's pretty, like, I'd say kind of essentially, like, forgettable. How do I keep messing up on that? I don't know how to describe this, but, like, I do think it's probably one of those ones that I'm just going to be like, I kind of forget that I played it. And I know that sounds terrible, but it's like, it's really just, it is okay. Like, it's fine. Like, it's good lengthy story. There's some extra stuff you can do. I mean, like, I don't really know what you're going to do when you finish the story. Like, I don't know how enticing all this extra side stuff is to people, but I mean, it's there if you want to do it, right? So, you know, it's a thing. And, you know, the characters are okay, and there's some interesting moments and some puzzles, and it's just like, it's not horribly dynamic or overly complex, and it's just kind of like, you know, you play through it and you're like, alright, that was fine, you know, and then you move on. And no, you know, like, I'm kind of a firm believer that not every game needs to be, like, ridiculously long or ridiculously big, and it's okay to have some, like, okay games, right? Like, that's, to me, that's totally fine. But I think that also kind of goes against the thing where it's kind of like, you know, there's so many really, really, really great games, particularly as of the time of, like, doing this kind of video, and it's just kind of like, I guess. I don't know. Like, it's solid, you know, it is, but it's just kind of also like, eh. You know what I mean? That's kind of the biggest thing on this one. But like, you know, it's got some different stuff to it. It's got some semi-cool areas. You know, they lean into the fantasy stuff. I do wish that the lore, like, it would have been neat to have more of a dive into the lore. And like, there's also like weird narrative bits for like characters where it's sort of like some of the characters seem to like essentially come in and then they just vanish after like a bit. Like it's very strange. Like you'll have a character that's like a really big part of the story and then they'll just be like, I'm done, and then they leave, and then sometimes they pop back up, some of them, but it's like, I don't know, it's really weird how it handles its narrative. It's like they almost planned for more, and then they couldn't do that, and then they kind of like cut back a bit, and it's very strange sometimes how things kind of play out in this one. And it also seems like it would have been, to me, it kind of feels a little bloated at times, because it's like some of the stuff feels a bit repetitive, as I've mentioned. So I almost feel like a tighter, like a short but sweet kind of thing might have been a little bit better for this one. Like, it was okay to play across the, you know, experience, but I couldn't help but feel in many segments I was just kind of like, you know, they're just padding. You know, it's just, they're just padding time, and it's like getting really repetitive, and at times a little boring, because it's like, I just fought this thing, and I'm fighting it again, and you know, now it's got like slightly more health and is like a little bit spongier, and to me that kind of gameplay gets a little like annoying, where it's kind of like, you know, like do something different. If you don't have something new or different or innovative to add as the story progresses, you're just taking up time as opposed to providing something of like, you know, exciting substance, and that to me is a little disappointing, because, you know, games you can do all kinds of cool stuff with. And it's like a game here where you've got like really cool like magic. Like, I mean, if you can tell what anything is on the screen right now, like it looks kind of neat. It's colorful, it's vibrant. If you're on the Series X, you can actually kind of tell the difference between some of the spells. I mean, it's still super blurry there, but like you could still kind of like tell what's going on your screen a little bit better, which is nice. And yeah, I don't know. Like there's some cool stuff with this one. There's some okay stuff with this, but I think a lot of it is going to come down to like your sort of thoughts on if you find the narrative humor interesting, if you find what you're doing in the game kind of interesting. Otherwise, I can definitely see a situation where it's kind of like the Pale Forest. Were we in the Pale Forest before? Drift off, yeah. Where it's kind of like you know, some people might have a hard time connecting with it, have a hard time enjoying it. And it's just like, on top of that, you know, you've got a Series S version where it's like, yes, it's 60 FPS, but the cost seems to be incredibly deep cutting on this one. We should always be targeting higher frame rates. Like, I think I said this a few times, and I don't want the wrong message to get across. Like, yes, 60 FPS is the goal. Yes, we should sacrifice resolution, but like, holy man, you can not really tell a lot of what you're like seeing, and that is a bit of an issue, especially when we've got like 4K displays out here. And I genuinely am kind of sitting here being like, oh, Series S, you're gonna be like, you know, why would I play the Switch version of this game when I know it's just gonna look like horrendous? And like, it's a nice little console, but this is not a good showcase of what the little console can do. But I also think realistically, with the tech they're kind of pushing, with obviously with UE5 here, is it's like, you know, I don't know what this console's going to be able to do down the road. It's a little worrying. But anyways, it's got some cool magic. It's got some cool combat. It is quite a bit repetitive. The story stuff will either be something you enjoy or you won't, but it's decently long. There is a decent amount of content. Again, for like a first-person shooter, it's not bad. The Series S version does look really rough, though, in my opinion. But, like, it plays, and, you know, it's 60 FPS, which is cool, and it's just kind of like, this is a very demanding engine, is what I'm seeing already, and I am worried about where things go from here for the console platform.